Hello, puppy gamer. Okay. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the music real quick. Anyways, I'm not good on camera, so I'm going to be making a game, so first we need a server to run the code off of. So I've actually written this code before, so I'm gonna find it right here. So this will just create a local server that will run the code that is in the code folder. That is a file, not a folder. There we go. So then I need to make the website. So that is I should close that. So that's the main page for this will be the main page for the website. So I need to tell the code that this is HTML. And this is where all the stuff that happens like before the website loads goes. So like telling the text encoding and also setting the title. I don't know what to call it. And then in the body is where you put all the things to load the page, like the canvas, which is where the game will be drawn on. Like it's an element where JavaScript can draw to. And I also need to link it to the code, which will be in a file called sketch.js, which I haven't created yet. So in sketch.js, actually I need to give this an ID first. But in sketch.js, I need to get the element for the canvas so you can draw on it. And the ID here is so it knows which element to get. And then I need to be able to draw on the canvas, because this just gets the element, which you can't really draw on. So you need to like get it's hard to explain. You need some way to draw on it. So this is what this function does. You need to tell it you want to draw in 2D, because there is a 3D mode, which I don't understand. But anyways, we need a function that will do stuff every frame. So that's what the draw loop function does. And then we need it to actually repeat every frame. So we have a set timeout, which calls a piece of code in this case, this function draw loop, and it'll ask how much you want it to delay by, and it's in milliseconds, which means 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. So if you want to have 60 frames per second, you'd have to do 1 second, or 1,000 milliseconds divided by 60. Anyways, that will make this code repeat every 1/60th of a second. So then we need to set the background color to black. And then we need to actually draw the background. So we want to draw a rectangle with position at the origin and with a width and height the same as the canvas. So it will cover the whole thing. So that will draw the background. We also need to run draw loop once, because this thing won't start looping unless you've called it once. So we would actually need to move the canvas to the corner of the page, because it isn't like that by default. So I'm just going to write some quick code to do that. So, wait a minute, I said that twice. What this does is this is CSS code, or cascading style sheets, which pretty much tells you how the page is supposed to look. So this selects the element with the ID of C for canvas, and then we want it to have a position of absolute, so you can set the position relative to the corner of the screen instead of like not at all or relative to itself, which is not helpful. So that will set the distance to the top of the screen to 0, and then this will set the distance to the left side of the screen to 0. And then you actually can't do this in the CSS, but we need to set the width of the canvas to the size of the screen. Wait, no. Inner width is the width of the screen. That should be window, not inner width. Again, not good on camera. So that should be like the bare minimum of what we need to get something drawing to the screen. So I need to actually start the server, and then go to the page the local server is running on, and there we go, we have something drawing. However, it doesn't adjust to the size of the screen at all, which is not good. So we would need to look for, so you need to detect when the screen size changes. So if I remember this correctly, which I might not, what's here? It's probably on something, and then screw it, I'm looking it up. All programmers have to do this. nobody can remember all of the, yeah, on resize. Okay. So the code we give this will be ran when the screen size changes. This is an arrow function, which is very similar to what this is, except you don't have to give it a name. And so we want to do the same thing we did here again. So if you were to go to the page for the game, then you'd see that the screen size always changes, which you can see here with the width of it changing when I do this. It might be a bit hard to see though, with all the blinking and stuff. So, anyways, we need to... So if you've read the description, you'll know what game I'm trying to make and what I'm trying to do. So we need to generate some terrain. So I'm going to make another JavaScript file to do this. And we'll probably have to do this before the game starts. So I'm going to use a thing called web workers, which allow you to run code in parallel to this code. So you can do stuff here while it's generating terrain. So I'm going to have a variable that stores the web worker. And I want to create a new web worker. Super hard to talk and type. And I want to tell it that we want to use this file. So when we start it, we want to send it a message. And we want to give it the width and height of the area we want to generate. So I don't know, maybe twice the width and twice the height. So then here we can say on message, and then have the message, and then have a function that detects what the message is, and then I have to think what the best way to do this would be. So you should probably have another function which generates the terrain. And then, it's super hard to think under pressure. And then have the width and height here. I'm just having those variables without giving them a value. So we can do it in here. if we were to do it in here, then we wouldn't be able to detect those variables from this function. So width would be the 0th element in the message. So this one, programmers like to count from 0. And then the height would be the first one, or I guess second one, if you count from 1. Wait a minute. Didn't change it to the code. That's annoying. Anyways, so what we want to do is like generate different sorts of biomes. We want like an ocean and a hilly one. And the ocean is just flat because it's ocean. And for the hilly one, we generate a bunch of points for where to have the hilltops. And then we generate the height of each pixel by detecting the distance to the nearest hilltop. However, although that isn't very realistic, it is pretty easy though. And however, we have to figure out which biomes should go where and how hilly the hill biome should be, which means we need to generate some sort of Perlin noise, which I don't know how to do. So again, we have to look it up. Might as well play some music. Okay, that was pretty quick. So I think I found some code someone else wrote that will generate Perlin and simplex noise. I wonder what this link is. It looks like a demonstration of some sort. Anyways, it also generates simplex noise, which I forget what it is. Like what it looks like. Let's look at some pictures of what it generates. Oh, okay. That's very interesting. I might actually use simplex noise for this. So what I believe I would have to do is copy all of this code and create another JavaScript file. Then copy it in there. And then we would also have to put this in the HTML so the page knows to run it. Anyways, we have to figure out how to use this, which should be very easy. So looks like you have to do noise.simplex2 and then provide 2 values, which is pretty simple. So to be able to use that, we would need to generate so we need to generate a list of values for each position. So we would need so I'll just call this height map and make it a list. And then we need a loop that will run the width number of times. So that's what that will do. And then for every row, we want to loop through, well, for every column, we want to loop through every pixel in the column. So we need to loop for every height too. Except we can't use the same indexing variable here. So I'll just use j. So what we have now is we're repeating for, we have a function that runs for, well, not really function, but code that runs for, that repeats for every pixel, and the pixel it's running for will be at position ij. So let's say, so we'll add a new value to the height map for every pixel. So you want noise.simplex2 and then the I and j. Now, I'm definitely going to have to do some tweaking to this later, but this will work for now. And then this will generate a list of height values for every pixel using the simplex noise. And so we want to send this back to the main code, and we do that by using post message here, like we did here. And then we'll probably want to tell it that this is the height map, and then we'll give it the height map. So now in this code, we want to listen for when it sends that message that it's done. So we'll say train generator dot on message, which will run a piece of code for every time the web worker sends a message back to the code. And then it'll look for this thing sends a list, and the first item in the list is telling the code that this is the height map, just in case I want to send anything else. And then the second in the list will be the actual height map itself. However, we count from 0, so this is the 0th and first. By the way, if you have any questions, send them in chat. I'm watching. So I want to check if it says height map. And if so, we want to have a height map in the main code here, and then set it to the height map we get back from the web worker. So let's try and run this. Although we actually need to have it display the height map we get back. So to display things, so we can have the code display things in this section here by typing console.log and then whatever message we want to have here. So we want it to be height map. So we're hoping for a list of pretty much random numbers. Okay, it didn't work. So apparently on message is, wait, no, I have to switch it over. So it says that on message is not a function, which means I must have typed this wrong somehow. So okay, so I might not have typed it wrong. I'm gonna look it up. What did I do wrong? So I have a new worker that is looking correct. And it says, okay, I think I know what I did wrong. So on message, you have to set, hold on, I'm gonna find this. Okay, so on message, you have to set to a function, but I was mistakenly using on message as a function that takes in another function, which will run when there's a message. But that is not correct. However, that is very easy to fix. Okay, let's try that again. It's not logged anything. This is interesting. Oh my goodness. I forgot to actually have it run the generate terrain code when it gets a message. So let's see if that works. And it didn't. Again. Okay, so let's test if it's actually receiving any messages by having it type in the console when it receives a message. Okay. We have something, but it is not what we were looking for. It looks like we want to do message.data instead of just message. So we want message.data index 0 and message.data index 1. I have a feeling it might be the same for this. Okay, so noise is not defined. Let's look at this library again. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I'm running a web worker. So I'm going to have it type in the console what noise is. Okay, so noise definitely exists. I think we might have to send the noise along with the height and width data. So that just requires me to add another thing to this list, which would be noise. And then we can define noise in here to be the second item in the list, if you count from 0. Let's test this. The object should not be cloned. Okay, I've never encountered this error before. Okay. That is new to me. I'm just gonna look this up. Okay. So for some reason you can't clone an array that, object, that has methods in it. Whatever that means. Maybe if I was to convert this to a string, .stringify. Wait, no. JSON.stringify. And then I'll parse this in the train generator. Maybe this will work. Okay, simplex2 is not a function. Okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna try console.logging the noise function. It doesn't exist. Okay, that's interesting. So it looks like sending the noise code to the train.js is not the right thing to do here. This is a lot of code. Just thinking right now. Import scripts for web workers. Okay. I have not heard of this. Thank you, it's going to be all right. Self.import scripts foo.js. Okay, so I can get rid of this, and also probably this, because we don't need to run it, because we won't need to be using it here. So this thing says to do self.import scripts, so forgot to switch it back to the code. So self.import scripts and noise.js. Well, there are no errors, and it didn't work, which is not good. Wait, did I not save that? Never mind. So, let's try console.logging the noise again. Wait, no. See what it says. Okay, it's saying something. Is that supposed to be strings? That's weird. Hold on. Okay. Let's log the type to function. Okay. Maybe it's displaying something very strangely. I'm just going to look here and see if it's sending anything back. This must be painful to watch. It is not sending anything back. Oh, never mind. Maybe it was just running super slowly and I was impatient. Okay, so we have an array that is like almost 6 million long, so that is interesting. So now let's try drawing that to the screen. So what we want to do here is, well, we know the width and height of the data, so we should probably store that anyway. Just in case this causes c.width to change. So here we can replace this with terrain width and terrain height. And then here, wait a minute, I have to switch over to the code. That is so annoying. So I've forgotten how to do this, but I need to do pixel manipulation. So I need an image data object, which is, hold on. Okay, creating an image data object. So we can set the image data, although, how are they doing it in the example? So they're doing it in the, so they're doing it a bunch of, whenever the pick event, the pick thing, when you move your mouse. So it'd probably be good to do it in here, the thing that loops every frame. So we'll set the image data to a new image data object. Just looking at the documentation quickly. So I need a width and a height. So we need the width and the height. Actually, no. That is for create image data. Never mind. We need this to be at the origin, and then the width and the height. So then we need to get the pixels, which would be image data dot data. And then we need to, for every pixel, we need to set it to we need to set the pixel in the canvas to the generated data. So we need to loop through the height map. What time is it? Okay. Anyways, so it says this is wrong. That's weird. Wait a minute. There we go. So we're looping through all the data in the height map. So now we have to set it to the pixels. And this is a little tricky. So we need to divide them, although actually you don't have to divide anything, I think. I think you can just use I. Because I'm generating 4 times as much data as there are pixels, and for every pixel there is 4 bits of data. So I think it should sort of line up. So I need it to be height map index I, and then the pixels all have a a red, green, and blue value. If you set the red, green, and blue to the same number, it'll be gray. And then this is the alpha or transparency channel, and we just want to set this to 1. So it'll be fully opaque. So let's see if this does anything. Although we'll have to actually test if the height map is done jittering yet. So you can just say if height map to do that. Okay, I have a typo. And I still have a typo. I have a typo in all of these. Okay. Now let's see if it works. It's not doing anything. Oh, I know. I have to actually set the image data. So I'm just gonna, put image data. So I can just do draw.put image data, and then have the image data, and then the position at the origin. Okay. Let's try this now. And it's all white. Okay. That's interesting. What numbers are generated in the height map? If they're scaled strangely, then that might break stuff. Reference error. Okay. That's interesting. Wait a minute. There we go. JavaScript does not like almost 6 million values in an array. Okay. So it looks like it's all between -1 and 1, I presume. So to be able to scale between -1 and 1 to 0 to 255, which is what color's like, then a map function would be useful, which will take a number and a range you give and sort of convert it to a different range. So you take the value, the minimum of the first range, the maximum of the first range, and then the minimum of the range you want to change it to, and then the maximum of the range you want to change it to. And then you want to make this function return a value to the code that's running it. So you want to have the value minus the minimum, and then divide that by the maximum minus the minimum, and then that should scale it to between 0 and 1. And then what you want now is to multiply it by the max2 minus the min2, and then add the minimum. So to test this code real quick, I'm just going to reload, then have do map of 1, and say the 1 is between, I don't know, 0.0, although it doesn't really matter. Let's just say 0, and 0 is in the range of -1 and 1. And then we want to scale it to the range of 0 and 1. So the answer we want is 0.5, which is what we get. So I think this is working. So you don't have to run the map function too many times. I'm just going to set the brightness value to the mapped value of height map, and height map has values between -1 and 1, and we want to scale it to values between 0 and 255, because that's what color is like. Well, I mean, that's how you generate colors in JavaScript, or any computer program, really. I'm sure you know that. So let's see if this works better. I can just delete this. And nothing. Wait a minute. It's doing something. What is it doing? So I'll say debug script. Actually, that's not really helpful. Didn't tell you where. Unless I'm missing something. So it should give that message again at some point, which will allow me to stop it, and it'll tell me where. Okay, it doesn't seem to be giving the message. I'm just going to check if it's setting the height map properly. I'm sure it is, but you know. Actually, it definitely is. I've tested that before. Oh, I forgot to give it which height map value. I'm honestly not sure what it was doing then, but it doesn't matter, because it was something that wouldn't have worked anyways. I'm just going to have it console.log when it's done generating, so I know if it's done generating. So now it'll tell me once it's done generating the noise. Come on. sums up it's not generating the noise properly. Okay. So I'm just gonna have this console.log something when it starts generating. Okay, it said it's starting. This might just be taking a long time. I'm just gonna have it tell me when it does a new column. Okay, it's definitely doing something. So that's probably done. Hold on. Is it not posting the message properly? I'm just having it console.log done when it's done right now. Okay, it says it's done. But the onMessage code has not detected that it's done for some reason. That's weird. It says it's undefined. This is weird. Well, it seemed to break when I had this code. So I'm going to try temporarily removing it. That will cause it not to run. Okay, it's not that. This is super weird. might as well just look it up. Let's just have it send a message of just one and see what happens. Okay. Do I have to do like self.post message? This is super weird. I'm really not sure about this one. Everything seems right to me. Wait. Okay. For some reason my web browser was a little screwy. I just opened it in a new tab and it worked right. So I am not sure about that one, but whatever. I'm just going to replace that back with height map. Put this code back. And see if it works, I guess. Okay, it didn't. So there's something messed up on line, what is it? 24. That's where I start the draw loop function. Wait a minute, that's terrain.js. Okay, 24. There we go. Apparently, this last thing got removed for some reason. Anyways, let's try this again. Hey, something happened. This is looking kind of strange. So, I knew I'd probably have to adjust this, but I'm just going to divide this by 100. So that should scale everything up by 100, so it'll look a bit smoother. Okay. That's something. It's directional in a very strange way. Let's look at this demonstration they have and see what code they use. So they seem to be taking the absolute value of it for some reason. I'm just going to go with that. That also means this would go from 0 to 1, and not -1 to 1. Let's see what this does. That isn't much better. Okay. wonder how I can see this demo without having to download it. Not sure. Maybe I'm writing the data wrong? Not sure. My assumption that this would just line up is probably wrong. So I'll probably just do pixels.length and then have I increase by 4. And then maybe just like, I don't know. I'm gonna try and I'll have to switch to the code. I'm going to try and see if I can just draw the top left corner of the height map. So that means I'm going to have to convert the pixels to an X and Y, which shouldn't be too hard. They do it in the demo, actually. So I can just look at that. I think. Okay, no they don't. Never mind. So, for the X position, I believe I want I modulus the width, and then I want I over the height. That is awful. And then I'd have to floor that or round it down. And by the way, modulus takes the remainder when dividing by this number. So now with the X and Y position, I can convert that to the height map index. So I believe I would do the position, take the Y coordinate, multiply it by the height, terrain height, and then add the X. So that, maybe this will work. Wait a minute. I need to actually use the height map I thing. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, it still didn't work. I rescaled the height map, so I'm just gonna look at what got sent. Is it all zeros? Okay, it's not all zeros. Okay. So why is it all white? I'm going to try rescaling this in the terrain code, so I don't have to do it here. Maybe that'll help. Not very confident. It didn't help. Maybe the alpha channel doesn't work right? Like it's not what I think it is? So, in the example, it doesn't look like they actually tried to set the alpha value. So, maybe if I just don't set it, then I can't mess it up. Again, not feeling... Oh, that worked. Okay. So that is not quite what I'm looking for, but it is something. Now, what have I messed up? Is the question, I guess. So it seems to be only drawing the top half of the screen. So I might have screwed this up somewhere. If you notice, it also has these weird boundaries for some reason. Not really sure what's causing those. Although it does look like those boundaries looks like the sort of the same ratio as the screen, but like rotated. So maybe if I was to switch the J and I, actually, then I can sort of flip these around. So that's done something. And it doesn't seem to have helped a whole lot. Maybe if I was to like change it to how it was before. Like just have the brightness, the height map index I. Had a feeling that it would do that. Okay, well, what's the hotkey for redo? Control Y, okay. It's not letting me redo. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, same thing. Maybe if I was to have it in terms of pixels. Again, that's done something. I think I sort of have an idea of what's going on. It's a bit hard to explain, but I think I might have to basically do the same thing I did before. So what should I call this? Okay, typo. Huh? Okay, let's scale it up some more. But this looks sort of like it's working. Okay, never mind. Wait a minute. Okay, same problem. So what's the problem here? Wait a minute. I probably need to divide this by 4 because I am adding 4 every time because each pixel has 4 values. Okay. It looks sort of like that worked. And I feel like simplex noise would be better for the mountain generation, because mountains typically generate in lines, and clearly simplex noise generates in lines. So I think I'm going to use Perlin noise for the biome placement, sort of. So I'm going to use Perlin noise there. Wait a minute, I have to say Perlin 2. Okay, let's try that again. That is not Perlin noise. Am I going crazy? That is Perlin noise. Okay. That is not what I expected, but whatever. Maybe if we scale this not as much, and zoom it out a bit. Something's up. That looks very much like the simplex noise. What if we switch it back to the simplex noise? And it's basically the same thing. What is going on here? So Perlin noise is sort of meant to look more like this. I'm going to switch this back to Perlin noise. Yeah, that doesn't look right to me. Am I going crazy? No, this doesn't look like Perlin noise at all. Maybe I'm just going crazy. Let's maybe try making this look a bit more interesting. For now, at least. So if the brightness is below, say, 50, we can have that be ocean. So we want 0 red, 0 green. Guess I can change that later. Although I guess I could say brightness over 50. Times 25. So that should be a value between 0 and 25 for green, and between 0 and 255 for the blue. Let's see what this does. Okay, that's kind of weird. Just fiddling around with values. Oh, I forgot to switch my camera. I feel like the map function would be perfect for this. Not sure why I didn't use it before. So I want this to map the brightness which is between 0 and 50 to maybe 64 and 128, and then map the brightness, which is between 0 and 50, between 28 and 255, That looks pretty weird. Anyways. So, otherwise, if the brightness is less than 70, we can have a sort of beach thing. Wait. I'm just gonna copy this over. So the red will be 255, the green will be 255. So that should make a sort of orange color. Actually, a yellow color. And then then we want to make it look more white, so we'll add some blue in. Maybe thinner beaches. That's pretty nice. So now we want some green. We'll do the same thing we did for the ocean, basically. Except the brightness is now between 60 and 220. We also want to, we would also want to have some red in there. See what this looks like. It's pretty interesting, I guess. However, we don't have any blank space left for mountains and stuff, so I'll probably like reduce this value a bit. I don't know, maybe 192. We still don't have any blank space. Okay. Let's do 128. Okay. We now have some blank space. I'm just going to increase this value a little. and then I'll add in some white and stuff for snow. I might as well just use the straight brightness. So pixels index I equals brightness. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Anyways, I am pretty happy with that. However, that is not the finalized version. This is only like the biome picker. I still have more noise to generate for more detail and stuff next time. So, anyways, we've been running for how long? Almost 2 hours. So I think this would be a good time to end. So